to be quiet is sometimes difficult.
No, please don't stop talking. I'll have questions, but please say as much as you want to say.
Okay, I'll behave myself.
So when did you have your NDE? How many
Oh,
years ago was it?
well, I had it, it's when I was a youngster in second grade, I had a strep throat infection up here, and the infection went into my kidneys and shut them down. So as a result of that, I was hospitalized, and I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. And towards the end of that, I was being treated with high doses of penicillin. It's an antibiotic. And I had an allergic reaction around 8 o'clock at night, and I stopped breathing. And it was uh, an unsettling feeling, a feeling of impending death and doom. And my body was a little paralyzed, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even talk. I couldn't move any air. And I started to dissociate from my body, and I floated up about 3 inches. And then once I was up, I rotated about 90 degrees, and I started to be moving towards this. First, it was a dark realm, but I had no pain, no discomfort. I was just completely at peace. And I knew I was dying, and I said, well, that's okay. As I went further, there was a white light that was in front of me. First, it was just a little pinpoint, and then it got brighter and brighter and brighter, and I was being drawn into it. And it's just like coming into that. As I approached that light, I became very, very peaceful, and all thoughts of Rod, time, space, all my concepts, all were taken away from me, and I felt incredibly light, like I was just floating. And it was a very peaceful sensation. It's lovely. And I got closer and closer to the light. And probably when it was about this big, I started to see inside of it that it was actually what I would now term heaven, but it was a brilliant white light, infinite space. But almost as I got there, the nurses realized something was wrong, and they started oxygen therapy for me. And that immediately brought me back into my body. And as you know, in second grade, I'm about 7 years old, and I thought, what was that? It must have been a dream. And I never heard of a near-death experience until just a few years ago, when a friend of mine, Dr. Jeff O'Driscoll, said, Rod, you had a near-death experience. I went, oh, okay. So now I too am learning about these, but that's the 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 what happened. What was interesting then is the aftermath. And I was given three gifts. And my first gift was I could see auras, colors on people. And in particular, I could see their hearts. So I'd see red on somebody's heart, green, or blue. And I realized later in life that these are divine colors of love, um, life, and science, intellect, creativity. And it was just beautiful. So that was my first gift. And I started seeing these on my friends. And I'd say, Mark, do you see these colors? He goes, no. So I wanted to fit in and not be the oddball. So I suppressed all that. I just said, no, no more. I'm done. The second gift that I was given was the ability to what we call astral travel. So a little bit later after that near-death experience in 1969, the Moody Blues came out with the song Floating. Floating among the stars. That's as much singing as I'll do. But I learned that by making my room dark, laying down in my bed, that I could again dissociate, and I started to float around the room. I thought this is very pleasant, very similar to the near-death experience of just your there is no body. It's just there's just an awareness, a consciousness, if you will. And I thought, I wonder if I can go around the farm. And I grew up in Minnesota, and we had a crop farm. So I went around and looked at the barn, and there was Dad walking. I was about 10 feet off the ground, and I thought, well, this is really nice. It's just so pleasant. And then towards the end of this, I thought, I wonder where else I can go. Well, I ended up going to Paris. And the reason I say that is because I could see the Eiffel Tower so clearly. And I was just floating along the street, looking down at people and seeing them eating, totally unaware that I was even there. And again, I asked my friends, are you doing this? They go, no. So stop doing that. And then the third gift was I had the ability to go into a very deep meditation very quickly. I would sit and just slow my breathing down, and just this warm presence would come over me, and I felt connected to something beautiful. And to this day, I can still do that. But those were the three gifts that I had. So that was my near-death experience and my three gifts that I got. So,
Wow. So you back in the day, your friends were not doing the astral projecting, they were not seeing auras, so you shut that down. Did you at any
correct.
point bring it back and start doing it again?
Well, I did. Um, it in 2000, well, in medical school towards the end, and certainly in my internship in internal medicine, I was doing ICU medicine, and I started to see auras on people. Their white outline, I could tell when somebody was going to die. I could see the colors in their heart. I could see the family. So it started to come back in these very stressful situations. But before I started seeing the auras, there was always a presence that came out first. It's something shifted in the room, and it was just like I disconnected. And I guess I was using my spiritual senses at that point. Just I didn't know it. Now I do because I've had a lot of experience with it. But yes, I started seeing auras again on people in medical school and in my internship. And then all through medicine, all through my career of 28 years, and even to this day, I still see on occasion auras on people. So it's that's still there. The astral travel, I wrote about this in my book. It's entitled When God Calls, Say Yes. But I was working with a friend, Tracy Posey, and you lay down on a bed and you hyperventilate and you learn to disconnect from your body. So being able to do that, I was able to travel around the earth with her help and guidance. I went into the sun, I went into the Milky Way, and I went beyond the Milky Way. And our human mind is so limited. But when you get into consciousness, divine consciousness, it's just infinity. It's just expansive. And I found that I could go into that again, and I can still go into it. And it's just supreme peace. It's happiness. It's joy. It's love. And you remember, I and my Father are one, that I am a divine being. Um, and that's hard to comprehend. There's not enough adjectives in the language to describe that. You have to do that. So, but that took 2 years of getting comfortable with astral travel and starting to expand and go farther. So, and then so those two gifts, the astral travel I don't do anymore. It's like it was fun, but it's not really helping me. Um, I'd rather meditate and connect directly with the divine now and just be at peace
Yeah.
or bring peace to the world.
Wow, that's
So,
wonderful. So
yeah.
how did your NDE and the fact that you could see these auras, especially when people were dying and you could see these things, how did that affect your medical career? Like, how did you use it? Did you shut it down? Um,
No,
did you tell
I,
people, oh my gosh, I think you're gonna die? Like, what did you do?
no, let's just back up a minute. First of all, in medicine, we don't talk about things like this. It's called schizophrenia if you do, and I would be locked up and put away. So I would keep very quiet.
Yeah.
But I did learn to listen to the divine inspiration. So in the book, I talk about several of these incidents, and the very first one that came to mind was a lady came in. unresponsive, well-dressed. She was in her office working with her peers and she collapsed and was dying. And so she comes in by ambulance, and that's all the history you get. Well, I started to hear in this ear instructions, and I was told what was wrong with this woman, that she had Tylenol poisoning. And later I found out, she was taking a medicine that had Tylenol in it, and she was supplementing with over-the-counter Tylenol. So she's taking inadvertently lethal doses of Tylenol. So I'm in the ER. I've got my crew there, and we're intubating her and starting IVs and doing all of that. And I ordered a stat Tylenol level, and that's a third level lab. It's not the first thing you order. It's like, how do you know it's not a heart attack? But I ordered it, and my nurses said, he's a little crazy, but it came back critically high, and we gave her the antidote, and it saved her life. And I have a lot of stories like that where I was guided as to what to do to help somebody. So I use those gifts. And as you do this, you learn to get your ego and push it out of the way and just become a channel and listen. So the auras were still coming out. And I also developed clairvision, clairvoyance. I I would on occasion I'd meet with somebody, and this one woman had abdominal pain, nausea and vomiting, and I could x-ray her body and see that she had a tumor wrapped around her transverse colon. And then I looked down and saw, oh, she had metastatic ovarian cancer. Well, nobody believes you when you say that, but I kept quiet. So I ordered the CT scan, and that's what was wrong with her. And so she ended up having surgery, and I don't know what happened to her after that, but I already knew what the problem was. So that's just an example. And then for meditation, I still meditate. I meditate for people who are sick, that they get, you learn to connect with them and help show them that their problem is an illusion, or, try to visualize it as an illusion, and that they have the power to heal themselves. But we're not taught that. We're taught, go to the doctor, he gives you a shot and surgery and all that. But maybe you can heal yourself if somebody helps you. So I help people, in counseling sessions I do. We talk about your illness, how you can fix it, still use medicine. And some people have done very well. So I still use these gifts. I like to help people. And
Well, thank you for
so it's fun.
doing that. Really, thank you
Yeah.
for doing that. Even like the Tylenol woman, all of that, like that's your gift, you know? So I'm so glad that you used it and you still use it and you're doing it. And I get it, like the science and the woo-woo stuff, they don't mix and all that,
Yep.
but it's such a disservice to humanity, I think, that it's so disconnected and that I don't want to generalize, but like that the scientific community don't want to be more open to it because you can literally save lives. You can literally improve so much just by being open to it, at least, you know. But now my question is, so when did you actually start talking about the stuff and being open and vocal about it without the fear of, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm crazy, all that?
Well, first, I have diagnosed myself as I have divine schizophrenia. So just get that out there. That I see things and hear things that other people don't, but there's always a presence of love associated with it. There's no thoughts of harm. Um, I had a stroke in 2016, a massive stroke. I took out my right side of my body, my left face, and um, I should have died. But in the ER where I was being treated, I had what's called a shared death experience. And in that, the whole ER turned scintillating white light. And usually when I would give the medicine to help you with the stroke, if you die in the first 10 minutes. So I'm thinking, okay, they just gave me this clot busting medicine, and it was the wrong choice that they gave it to me. So I should have died from it. But that after 2 minutes, I'm watching the second hand go around and the whole ER turned into scintillating white light. And I saw the divine in everything. I was one with pure love and I completely relaxed. And I heard the voice said, "You are going to walk out of here tomorrow, out of the hospital." And I did. I was in the ICU. I was walking around and they're saying, "You can't be doing this." And I said, "Well, why not? Talking to you just like, we're talking." Yet with the stroke, I had aphasia. I couldn't talk. I was drooling out of my mouth. I couldn't breathe. Next day, I'm like, I want to go home.
Mm.
So I did. I walked out of the hospital the next day, and usually it's a 2 week stay. By learning to attune to the divine and allowing that divine power, that divine spirit to come into you, it changes your mind about your concepts, and you suddenly say, I am in fact a divine being, and the body's just a shell, and I can change my mind and allow healing to come through and walk out of there. So I had the shared death experience and then my own healing. I think I lost my track there for a minute, but anyway, that I like to help people with that.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead.
No, I was just in awe, I'm just I've never had a near-death experience, and I don't want to die, but some things stand out for me, like you explained, that feeling of love and that peacefulness that takes over you, and this white light that is just filled with this peacefulness and this unconditional love. And um, you experience that in meditation, I'm sure, as well. I'm just
I do.
wondering, like, because I've never thought, you said something in the beginning that I'm thinking about now, and I've never thought about it this way. Everyone mentions when they have a near-death experience that they see this light. It either starts as a pinpoint of light, or it's like a tunnel and then there's a light at the end or something. Um, and I always thought that the light is the light, but you described it as it's 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 a hole that the light is coming through. The light is from the other side. The light is not the dot of light. The dot is the hole that the light is coming through. So that is a new way for me to think of it. And then
Well,
you said
y-
when you were in the hospital when you had your stroke, um, it all turned light. It all turned white. Were you in the light?
yes, I
Oh,
was light.
okay.
Everything was light. So with people, you have to understand we have a human mind and then we have spiritual consciousness mind. And there's a veil between the two, like a curtain. And so either you go down a tunnel, which means you're disconnecting from your human body, and the human body is made out of darkness. It wasn't made by God, and therefore it's a concept. So the light is there's always a hole, and as you get closer to like a curtain with a hole in it, you go to a movie theater, and there's a hole. That's the light. And some people will see the beam of light depending on if there's a projector but that there's always a light. And you go through that veil, and I talk about that in my book, that when you go through that veil, it's like your body is just pulled right off of you and you return to divine consciousness. And once you've done that, your consciousness, you're into huge, expansive sphere. I can't even describe it, of infinity. And your mind just opens wide. So when I meditate, I go into this, but then when I come back here, it's like my body gets crammed into a funnel and shoved back in. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
So think of it as a veil, and you're going from human consciousness to your spiritual consciousness. And the veil is what I call the edge of the separated mind.
Mm.
That's where all of your concepts of who you are, your life, your body, that all gets pulled away and you suddenly are liberated.
Mm.
The same thing happens when somebody dies, that death is the body dies, I get that, but the spirit does not die. The spirit is eternal. It's eternal love, eternal light. And death is a choice point. And actually, when you leave this world, you there's also there's angels, there's friends and family. It's very crowded up there. And they're there to help you because that transition for a lot of people is fearful. And you get the choice. Do you want to reincarnate or do you want to go home? And so a lot of people would like to go home. A lot of people want to stay. And well, I haven't quite learned my lessons. I'll share with you. I like to meditate for what I call the sonship, or what you would call the world. And that's usually an evening meditation. I get very quiet and I connect with the divine and go into the astral plane, which for me is monochromatic. And I see the earth as kind of a gray orb with a light background. And then I start to see the people. And like we've had wars, a couple of wars. Um, the last ones, 1,000 people died. And I go and I find them. And when they people die suddenly, they don't know what happened. It's a shock. And so I explained to them what's happening. And this is all mental. I'm not physically talking, but it's just a different way of communicating. And about a third of the people um, that were killed decided they'd had enough. They wanted to go home. And I call them fireflies because you see their light just leaving. But two-thirds were angry and wanted revenge. They said, no, I want to reincarnate and go back and continue. So slowly we're winning this whole process because more and more people are starting to go home. But that's another meditation I like to do for people to help them.
That's wonderful. So I'm curious to know when you wrote your book and you started talking about all this stuff, I imagine that your ex-colleagues and people you used to work with in the medical field, they maybe read your book or they heard about something you said or this or that. Did any of them,
No,
were they weird with
no,
you afterwards?
no, none of them read my book.
So are you just shunned from that whole community now, or what happened?
Uh, Basically, pretty much they people just sort of let me go, and that was fine. My vibration has steadily increased. Their vibration is here, so there's a disconnect. So that it's like your light's too bright. I can't look at you, so we're
Yeah.
not going to talk to you. So I was taking care of 4 nursing homes and I was running Beacon Hospice. So that's several hundred people I'm taking care of. And only one person contacted me. How are you doing? Out of all of my friends and doctors and patients. And I said, it's okay. I said, I'm doing fine. But that started a new career because once I wrote the book, excuse me, um, I started talking about it to what's called A Course in Miracles conferences. And A Course in Miracles is an independent self-study book where you start to read it and it tells you how to unlearn this world and how to connect with your divine spirit that's within you. In other words, connect with your reality. So there's conferences and I was in Utah, I was in Washington, I was in Florida, I was in Boston many times, Portland. Anyway, doing a lot of public speaking and up until COVID hit, and that kind of shut me down.
Yeah.
So then I started doing later podcasts and interviews like this.
Wow.
And then I started a counseling practice to help people understand. They say, okay, here's what's happening. I'm having this kind of an issue with my meditation. I'm blocked, or I've got this financial problem. And we just go through it and find out why do you have that? Because The problem's created in your mind and projected out there, and you're dealing with the effects. And I say, well, let's let the effects go. Why are you having this problem? And it always comes down to you feel separated from the divine, and therefore you must be punished. This is what I'm taught in Catholic school. And when you get down into deep meditation, then you realize I and my Father are one. I'm still connected, and I can bring that light forward. So in the Bible, it says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God." Okay, go inside, meditate, however you want to do it, connect with your divine center, and just be at peace. And then what happens is that energy goes out into your life, and it becomes what the Bible calls the added things. So it becomes the things that you need to be peaceful. So you need money, you need a relationship, you need a car, a house, whatever. And you start to realize I have the power to create my life the way I want to create it. And I learned to disconnect from the illusion of this world and say, okay, I'm going to be a beholder now.
Mm.
I'm going to rest and be quiet, and I'm going to let the divine guide me, as opposed to this mass human ego consciousness,
Mm.
which is insanity. I
Yeah.
mean, so
Yeah.
that's what I
I
help people do.
yeah, I really wanted to hear you say I was embraced, they were open to it, or, they at least didn't cut you off or something like that. But the thing is, there are so many, not only medical professionals, but people from a scientific background who's had near-death experiences and spiritually transformative experiences. More and more of them are speaking about it now. Before,
Yes.
back in the day, they would just be quiet about it like you did, which no one blames you for. But you guys should start like a group chat or something, like all of you science guys, because it's,
Uh,
yeah, I don't know. I think it would be
um,
fun. It would be better than, all of you alone, isolated, like in your own little fields. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it comes down to technology and connecting and all of that stuff. And I'm not very good with computers. I'm very good with medicine. So I'm learning a great deal and trying to find people to help me to, excuse me, I don't even know how to use Facebook or Instagram. It's like, what is that?
Well, I would be happy to
So
teach you, and I would be happy to connect you with other science-minded people who've also had NDEs and STEs, because I think there's so much you guys to talk about. And I also think that it will help because what the thing is, I feel like even though the other doctors and people who make as if all of this is just woo woo. I think they are actually secretly like watching you guys. They are watching you, they are listening to what you're saying, they are reading your book secretly. I think they are curious about it. They're just afraid to say that they are, or afraid to say that they've also had experiences because they don't want to lose everything they've worked for all these years. They don't want to lose credibility and they don't want to be
right.
the one to go first.
Yeah. I think I think the most important thing from all of these near-death experiences is to realize that people are reconnecting with their divine self, and that the illusion of death is not real. That you get to peek momentarily through that curtain and go, wow, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. That's very encouraging to somebody who's dying and say, well, all these people have had near deaths, and I'm not going to purgatory. I'm not going to hell. I'm not being judged. I'm going to go home and be free of all of this pain and suffering and whatnot.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
The problem that we run into is, well, we can't reproduce it. We're scientists and we love to reproduce and predict, and I can't do that.
Yeah.
You see, so therefore we think of it as invalid, and
Yeah.
we sort of, yeah, right. But
Yeah.
more and more people that have advanced degrees are saying, well, okay, here's what happened. And now I've been studying for years spirituality, And I'm starting to understand, and I've been able to cross that veil and say, oh, if you change your perspective and say, I'll give you an example. I love props, excuse me. So here, here's how you see your world right now. That's how you see it with your human eyes, you see. And we want to, okay, this is me. Yep, that's all there. There you are. I see you. And you bring in that divine light, and you suddenly go, oh, now I see you. I see your spirit. You see, it's like, oh, you're a very spiritual person. You're high vibration. Your heart's red. It's very pretty. Can you see it? Can you see how bright your heart is? No. Can you see your aura? No. But that's all right. But with practice, you could do that. You see, so, but our human world says, oh, we have to look at, now I can't see your aura. I can't see your heart. I look good though. I look cool. And that's what the ego wants, the human ego. It says, you want to look cool, you want to be right. And God says, well, let me take that away and help you to be happy and to see who you really are. You are a thought of love in my mind. You and I are one in divine light. In fact, there's only one of us here. And we all think of us with the dark glasses that we're separate people with these bodies and our lives. But that's the illusion. In excuse me, in Genesis, Adam and Eve story, Catholic tradition, it says that God put Adam into a deep sleep, and he took a rib out of him to make a woman, right? And nowhere in the Bible does it say he woke up. So guess what? You're having a dream, and that's the death part. And these people that have near-death experiences, they're leaving the dream and going back to their true reality, which is light.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's it's so when you look at yourself from a spiritual point of view with clear glasses, and the divine helping you, you go, oh, it's just a dream, and there's no more fear of death.
Yeah.
And if you take the fear of death away, it takes a lot of fear away. It's like, I can heal myself. I can have a happy life, because the truth is, God's will for you is perfect happiness, not a little bit. It's peace, love, joy, happiness.
Yeah.
We don't accept that. We're like, no, I'm not that good.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was consumed by fear. One of my main underlying fears was the fear of death and dying. The fear got ignited for me when my grandfather died about 11 years ago now, because I
Mhm,
thought, well, what happened to him? Did he
mhm.
go to hell? If he did, and he was such an amazing person, if he did, then I am in serious trouble, which I don't want to be in. So I need to figure this out. And the first book I ever wrote about NDEs publicly, that wasn't a ghostwriting thing with my name on it now. Um, the main intention of that book was to help people understand that they can release that fear of death and dying, because here are a bunch of people who died and came back and said, it's amazing on the other side. I almost didn't come back. So,
Yeah.
it's like, it's so simple. But the humanness of, all of our limitations and, all the limiting beliefs and the conditionings and all that, it just blocks a lot of us from really accepting, like you say, accepting that message. It's so simple. You are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. This is not all that it is. In fact, this is not even real. This is the dream, and
Hmm.
spirit is the real life or the real experience. So
Yes.
I love that. I love that so much. And I want you to tell me a little bit more about God. Tell me, what was how did your understanding of what God is change after your NDE, after your shared death experience, after all of your things?
Well, it that's sort of out of sequence. I was a little kid, second grade. I had no idea what the heck happened. Um, and the shared death experience, by then I was what I would say seasoned because I'd had so many encounters with the with divine help, seeing things, you know, one man was dying on me and I dissociated and I pushed his spirit back into the body. And we were doing, I was doing CPR on him, but in my mind, I saw him starting to float up. I said, no, get back in there. um, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Help me bring that back. I
Mm,
went off on a tangent.
you were telling
But
me about how your understanding
right.
of God had been
So
shaped.
the the I first experienced I actually you get to a point where you through this astral travel you learn to dissociate and you get into that sphere and the divine Christ asked me, do you want to meet God? And that was probably around 2007. I wrote the book in 2019. So I had the stroke in 2016. So I'm trying to put it in a frame of reference for you. Um, so about 2007, 2008, 2009, somewhere in there, I'm doing all this astral traveling and reading and meditating. To meet the divine, it's impossible to describe. It's you are a thought in the consciousness of God. You are you are like a drop of ocean water, and I throw you back into the ocean. Where are you? You're there, right? You're there, but you're also one with seven oceans of the world. How do you comprehend that? The human mind goes, doesn't work. God is a knowing, it's a oneness, it's infinite peace, infinite love, stillness, and yet tremendous power, just tremendous power. And it's all flowing through you, and your mind has expanded just into infinity, which you can't even comprehend. But looking at the Milky Way galaxies, they're like a little dot, and you see millions of these galaxies, and yet God is even more than that. So having had that experience of remembering I am that I am a God within, and I am a spiritual being in a human body. It's hard to explain. If you've never tasted an orange, and I have, it's juicy, it's sweet, it's good. You're really going to like it, but you don't know what I'm talking about. I cannot give you enough adjectives or definitions, right? I say, here, taste it. And you taste it and you go, oh, that is really good. Okay, we can talk now a common language, you see. But if you haven't had that experience of what is it like, it's hard to convey it. How much power and how much love flows through you. Um, in the human world, the electricity in the United States is 110 volts, and God is like 220. You're hanging on. It's a lot of power, but the stillness and the quietness and the love is it just and to be totally unencumbered with any human beliefs or concepts. I have a concept. I'm a man. I'm a husband. I got kids. I got a house, a career. Those are all limits on me, and all that just gets pulled away, and you get tremendous freedom, and your mind just opens up, and you don't die, and you don't disintegrate. You don't just melt away to nothing. You're still there, a creative thought of love in the mind of God. It's just that all the baggage you've accumulated in this lifetime is gone, and you have no ego. It's hard to describe, but it's a very liberated state of being. So I got there through meditation and practice.
Yeah, I love that. I love knowing that I am a thought in the mind of God. And right now,
Mhm.
I'm busy working on a book called The Ways to God. And all of the
Mhm.
different authors who are featured in it are talking about their own experiences with the divine and how they describe the divine in all the different ways, minus all the dogma and all the righteousness and all the, that stuff. But it
Yeah.
was, as I was writing about my experiences, I had to think back to my whole journey because I never had an NDE. I had multiple STEs, like spiritual transformative experiences. And I went from growing up in a religious household that was very fear based when it came to religion. And then I broke
Mhm.
away from it completely. I wanted nothing to do with it. And then I had experiences which were undeniable. And
Mhm.
now it's all I talk about. It's all I can think about. It's all I want to experience. I'm
Right.
not, but I'm not super religious. I don't, go around trying to convince people to convert to anything or anything like that. I just love talking and understanding more and bathing in the feeling of knowing more about what it is and what it all means and all that. And
Yeah.
I just love your description of that because if I am a thought in the mind of God, means that his attention is constantly on me. If it wasn't, I would not exist. Same with you, same with
Mhm.
everyone. Isn't that
Right.
mind blowing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's also wonderful. It's
yeah,
delicious. It's sweet. It's fulfilling. Love, the divine love for me, is like a sweet cream. You can feel it flowing into you, and you feel peace, and everything's being washed away. So, yeah, it's you have to experience it. I don't talk to anybody unless they ask me about these experiences. I don't, when we're talking, the other day, my friend was talking about the chapter of Daniel in the Bible, and I said, he's into the religion, which to me is a hierarchy created by man. No offense to anybody, but um, the Constantine group of individuals made the Bible. Then they find the Dead Sea Scrolls, which contradicts a lot of stuff. It's like, well, where's the truth? And also, it's a way to control people, which I don't like. And every religion has its own definition of God, and God is only one. God is love. In fact, you say God is, and you stop talking,
yes,
which means anything beyond is God,
yeah,
right? And so my friends are in this religion and say, well, this guy's a fundamentalist, and if I don't believe in his religion, I'm going to go to hell. And I think higher than that. Let's get out of that egoic human conditioning and go higher. Go into spirit. God is like gravity. God is like sunlight. God is like air. We don't build churches and chapels to that, do we? We don't pray to gravity to heal me or sunlight heal me. You know, Hitler got the same amount of sunlight as did Gandhi. He got the same amount of air. So God says, I don't see your body. I don't see your problems. I see myself in you, expressing myself as you and enjoying your experiences. And let's make it fun. Let's take that egoic thinking that I'm guilty, I'm bad, I must be punished, I'm going to die. Oh my God. And let's just kick back and relax and say, let's just have some fun and intentionally start to create a new life and say, I start my day, Father, what are we doing today? What's up? What? And I just go with it. And it's all sorts of things happen I had no intention of doing, but I did. And you feel like in your heart, you're being guided and I'm protected. So it's just a nice way to live. You live in peace.
yes,
You get off in humanity, we have what's called duality, good and bad, right and wrong, Democrat, Republican, up, down. There's always a split. People pick this side or they pick this side, and you know, and God says, we're like this. And inside that is me. And so you learn as you go down this path to become a beholder, there's a lot of insanity in the United States right now. And I just step back, and my job, I consider myself a light worker, is to bless everybody. It doesn't matter what they're doing. They're all talking in a foreign language, and they're really saying is, I want love. I think I have to fight for it, but you don't. You have to learn to disconnect from the insanity. You have to learn to rest, listen so that you can hear God. You got to stop thinking, rest, and then just be at peace. Just say whatever happens is going to happen. And even if I die, it's okay because it's the body, but I'm going to go to even higher level of divinity. And I'm good with that. I'm really good with that. So, but to the people in the world, they're fighting and they're stuck in this dream like Cain and Abel in the Bible, and it just split everything apart. So my job and your job is I just get quiet and say, Father, let's just bless the world and hold it in divine love and light. And there's light workers out there that do this. And I don't know who they are, but I know they're out there because I can feel them. But that's another meditation I like to do. Certainly when I'm called, I get something happened and I have to sit down and meditate. Um, some some of my friends, I lost 10 friends last year, and sit down, meditate, help them through that transition. So you get very comfortable with walking in that other realm. Um, so that's you're going up that evolutionary scale, and eventually you bring more and more of that light into your life, which means you're radiating more of that light into your life and to those around you. So as you're saying, it's like, okay, so now my heart's really getting big because we're talking about God and I'm feeling that love coming through me. It's going right into you and it's going out to all the people that are going to watch this. And if they get quiet, put their hand on their heart and just say, I accept this. I accept this love, that I am love and I am a thought of love in the mind of God. And I'm going to relax and listen now and just get quiet for just a few minutes. And all of a sudden you get this, I think I'm going to do something different today. And that's the divine working with you. And it just takes practice. It just takes practice. So
Well, you are doing such amazing work, and I'm so glad that I got to meet you and speak to you today. And I look forward to more conversations with you because I have so many more um not questions really, but I could just listen to you speak all day. I just get the warm and fuzzies when you speak to me. I don't know. It's just happening. So
you're
I had
feeling
such
the
a good
love.
time.
You're feeling the love
Yeah.
because as human beings, I see a woman and a man, right?
Yeah.
But as a spiritual being, you and I have just connected. My heart turned red, yours is red, and we just connected and you're feeling the warm fuzzy. That's divine love. You just took a bite of orange.
Yeah. And it's a good orange, the best one I've
Mm,
had.
yeah. And so what you're doing is so wonderful because for me, I don't know how to do all this stuff. And I would love to help teach more and talk more, but I never grew up with computers. I grew up with a slide rule. That was my instrument for calculus. So anyway, so
Yeah.
we help each other. We
Yes.
help each other. And then that message goes out. It'll go to your group, and then it'll go from the group to the next group. And you're all saying, I want to taste that orange.
Yeah.
So
100%.
anyway,
I love that so much. Thank you so much. Thank you
oh,
for
you're
sharing
welcome.
that with me and for sharing it with all of us.
You're welcome. I wish you well and I bless you all. I can feel people and I just send you all love, just love, and you just accept it. You
Yes.
are worthy. And just I and my Father are one, the simplest meditation you can do and the most powerful. I'll end with that.